So I'm pleased to be joined with Andy Erwin from Kingdom Story Company. And you have a bunch of movies that I'm sure our listeners are familiar with, something
Yeah.
like Woodlawn, I Can Only Imagine, I Still Believe, and also recently Jesus Revolution. And you have this new movie coming out called Ordinary Angels. So, as someone that worked on the movie and you had a say of like what you were trying to tell, what you're trying to accomplish with this movie, can you just give us like a brief description of what it's about and the heart behind it?
Yeah, the heart for it, it's a true story. We tell true stories. And also a signature of everything we do is it's a rush of hope. We want people to leave the theater just inspired to go out and make a difference for what they believe. And with this one, it was a story of a family who the father had lost his wife to a rare liver condition, was severely in debt, couldn't pay the bills, then found out his 5-year-old daughter had the same condition. And this unlikely hero that in our movie is played by two-time Oscar winner Hilary Swank comes to the rescue and says, "Hey, we need to fight for this family." And it led to the end of the movie in the biggest blizzard in the history of Kentucky, this church rallying around this family to save them. And it's a story of just, people think I can't make a difference, but you can make a difference starting with just one person, and you could just be an ordinary angel, find your purpose. And so it's an exciting story to tell, and it's a beautifully told movie.
Yeah, and I love that the tagline of the movie, find your purpose, make a difference. So
Yeah.
that's really just like the whole heart behind it of just like you said.
But that's it in a nutshell. It's like, this unlikely hero, Sharon, that Hilary Swank plays, didn't think that she mattered. And she found her purpose because she became passionate about fighting for one little girl. And
Wow.
that one little girl ended up making enough noise for a whole community to get involved and save her life. And so you can make a difference in the way that you just find your purpose, make a difference. That's the whole point of the movie. And
Yeah.
it's an entertaining story. Alan Ritchson from the Reacher series plays Ed, the father, and super proud of this film.
Yeah. And I think it's really cool, like having a true story because it's like, okay, these are real people's lives.
Yeah.
This is a real story that you're trying to tell. And while you're trying to be entertaining as well, it's really just really going to be connecting with people. So, Jesus Revolution is another movie that I said that you had worked on. So that came out a year ago. So how would you say this movie is like a good follow-up to that?
Yeah, the follow-up to Jesus Revolution, it was a moment in time where we didn't know what was going to happen coming out of COVID. And God just breathed on a moment. It's the most bold thing that we had ever done. And my brother told the story. He directed it. I got a chance to produce it with the rest of the team. And it was a moment where God just really showed up in a really powerful, significant way. So because of that, our parent company, Lionsgate, decided to let us not just do one more movie, but we got to do 4 movies this year. So we have 4 movies coming out, and it gave us a chance to try some different things. The idea that we want to be strategic with the gospel. Everything we do is about pointing people to Jesus to introduce them to the idea, but with very specific reasons. So this one, Ordinary Angels, lifted up the power of the church, that to remind an outside audience and people that may not even be part of the church that the church is a safe place where you're going to be helped.
Mm.
And to allow the church to be the hero, that was a big deal. And then on the heels of this, we have this movie Unsung Hero coming out about the band for King and Country, and it's about the power of family and God using the family of this one woman fighting for her family, being kind of the unsung hero of the family. And so amazing to tell stories like this and to tell it on a big stage and to kind of continue to reach people outside the church walls.
Yeah, because it's so cool because like someone that could just be watching this movie, they might not go to a church typically. So it's like, but it'd probably be easier to get them to watch a movie. So just having that little introduction to faith and to
Yep.
Christianity, to Jesus is probably a big part of what you're trying to do as well.
Absolutely. It's just that idea of taking the fear away of what they think Christians are, what they think the church is, what they think Jesus is, and being able to just kind of win them over through seeing somebody's real life experience.
Yeah.
And that allows the church to step in and say, we want to be a place where you feel safe and that you're going to feel cared for. And that's what the church is really about. And that gives them an opportunity to meet Jesus in a very authentic way. But we just kind of plant that seed for the church to kind of follow up and utilize. That's why it's such an important tool to use it a tool to invite your friends to that may not know the Lord. This could start some conversations.
Mhm. And obviously, this is probably a pretty big production. Movies, I'm sure, are. And what our listeners might not know is you guys did some of your filming here in Winnipeg, so that's kind of
Yeah.
a cool connection. But
Yep.
in the whole process of like making the movie, is there a moment or a scene or something that you can kind of tease that just really stood out for you? It's like, hey, this is going to be special. Just seeing how God's going to work.
Canada just was the star of this film because, Winnipeg, we needed somewhere where we could film with the snow, and we used a lot of Winnipeg crews. So a lot of, people that are there local were a part of this. Our two little girls are Canadian actresses. And so to have the community support it was amazing. And I think there's a couple of moments where it just really gets me. And for me, there's a moment where Ed is trying to get his daughter to the airport to get her airlifted out, and there's this back road he takes, and he can't move the tree. Thinks that he can't, and then when he finds out the community is coming to his rescue, that moment gets me emotionally every time. And just the idea of this guy that thought that he was so alone realizing that he's not alone. That's a powerful, powerful message. And so it was a privilege to tell that part of the story. And John Gunn, the director, did a fantastic job.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's just something everybody can relate to, just like God's always with you, right? So you're not ever alone. So I'm sure that's going to really connect with anybody who's going to go and see that movie. And for those people, what is this big message that you hope that they take away after seeing it? Obviously this is a real story. So what was your big goal in that?
The big message with this one just really goes back to that question that the disciples asked Jesus is like, who is my neighbor? And your neighbor is the most unlikely person. And the person that gets to be the hero in that story was the Good Samaritan, and the person that people thought, oh, that's somebody God could never use. And in our story, Sharon is the Good Samaritan that kind of asked that question of who's my neighbor. And nobody thought that she had any value, but she did. She had tremendous value, and God used her to change a community. And so, I think for people that might be discouraged and thinking there's so much conflict in the world right now, how in the world do I make a difference? And you just start with one person,
Mm.
and God just has a way of multiplying, what you do. And you're not an accident. You're not a mistake. God could use you to do amazing things. You could be the unlikely hero.
Absolutely. Just let him be obedient to where he's going to lead and then just let him take control, right?
Well said.
There we go. So someone's watching this and they're like, okay, I want to see this movie. It comes out February 23rd across theaters. And where can they get information on showtimes, tickets, anything like that?
Go to ordinaryangels.movie, and you can buy tickets now. It's like you said, it opens everywhere February 23rd. And so go ahead and start planning your weekend, because that opening weekend is so critical to what we do. That's where the movie studios, they pay attention. So let your voice be clearly heard.
Yeah. And finally, just what's next for Kingdom Story Company? You said that you guys have other movies coming out too. So is there
Yeah.
anything else you can
So
share?
yeah, we've got Unsung Hero comes out on April the 26th. It's the story of the band for King and Country. Amazing story. Joel Smallbone from the band actually directed it and plays his father. Amazing story, music story. Then we've got White Bird, which is a follow-up to the movie Wonder, and stars Helen Mirren. That one is an amazing story about a Christian family that stood up for a little Jewish girl in the Holocaust in France, and during World War II. And then the last movie was actually just wrapped in Winnipeg back there. Dallas Jenkins from The Chosen directed the best Christmas pageant ever. And we just finished production there, and it is a fantastic, heartwarming Christmas movie that will be out in November. So stay tuned.
There you go. Got lots in the works, got lots to be excited about. So thanks so much, Andrew, for joining us today. And yeah, if you want to see the movie Ordinary Angels, it's going to do you think they need some like tissues? Will they have to bring that to the theater?
I do warn you, you will do some crying. So make sure you bring some tissues.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us today.
Appreciate you, my friend.